Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast. Golly.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
Sorry, my Talking Books is not supported on this device.
Okay, so that can be very disconcerting. You're like, oh my God, this is a skill that I use for everything. Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips podcast, y'all. It's good to have you all with us this week. And as always, we're going to be giving you a high-level view of what we're going to be covering this week, which is, again, I am deep into all things A-Lady Plus, and that is the, of course, new AI-infused beta rollout for our new A-Lady devices. So I'm in the preview for that, and so I am testing the waters for y'all. So with that in mind, some of you may be dealing with some of the same challenges or limitations that I'm running into, and that kind of sparked today's episode. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of a palooza, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I want to focus in on the idea of playing skills that may have been pivotal to your daily environment. It could have been a game. It could have been some sort of reference tool you used, and you may have ran into a brick wall trying to run it with the new A-Lady device. And so I figured out a way to kind of triage that, and I don't think really there is something per se directly blocking you, but you will run into some syntax problems at times that could give you the idea that you don't have any access to that skill anymore, whatever the thing may be. It could have been WebMD, it could have been Wikipedia, it could have been some sort of any kind of skill you may have used in the past. You may get a response that makes you think, I can't access it anymore. Well, that's no good, right? But I think you can. So we're gonna discuss how you do that and bypass that. Also, I want to bring up again, I've been kind of leaking these out as I go, bugs, a synopsis of sorts of bugs that I have encountered with the A-Lady. And so that way it kind of soothes y'all's conscience. You too can give feedback to Amazon. So hopefully we are like we're like the tide rising, all telling them, please fix this, and the tide rises all ships. So I want to bring those things to the fore as well. And I think there was something else. What did I also have on my list here? I might also just highlight some of the really cool things that I've encountered. Just a really cool dialogue and way to triage information. So we'll delve into that here in this episode. Now, for our new listeners, I'd like to welcome you to the show. My name is David Ward. I'm the host of the Echo Tips podcast. We are a weekly show that's 52 episodes a year. Generally try to release new episodes around Thursday, Friday every week, somewhere in that time range, Wednesday to Thursday, Friday, and try to release those episodes. And we are in our 7th season, and our 7th season actually is drawing to a close pretty soon. So we'll be wrapping that up and beginning season 8 as well. Now, our whole back catalog deals with everything Amazon Echo related, A-Lady related, so that it could include new hardware releases, devices that are in the space, competing devices in the space like the Google Nest Mini, also the Home Assistant, which I'm trying to get ready to go. Apparently, I bought one component, but I actually need like the main brain hub to run it. You go figure. I didn't research that in depth enough, so I need to get into that. And we discuss all sorts of applications. So it could be for home automation, could be for parents, caregivers, seniors, children, business environments, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, those with different types of disabilities and accessibility features. So just a whole back catalog. And I can mention at the tail end of the show the ways you can reach out not only to me with thoughts or suggestions, but also to find out that back catalog if you're trying to triage a problem and you're a first-time listener. Okay, so we're going to delve right into our material. We would sometimes usually have a transition here, or a sponsorship read, but I don't have anything like that right now, so I'm just going to delve right into the material. one of these days I'll get a little more ambitious and I'll actually record some like little transitions here, to tell you to contribute to a local charity or something like that. But anywho, so delving right in, where were we going to begin? Classic skills. So this is something that's a phrase I've actually found in the A-Lady app, and that is skills are sometimes referenced as classic skills. And I've actually found that phrase, I believe, under the More button in the A-Lady app. And then I went to A-Lady Services, which is where you find a panel of all these new services for A-Lady Plus. And then near the bottom, I think near account services or account profiles, it had this phrase, classic skills, and stuff like that. So I don't know what that means for us. Whether we'll be getting a new branch of skills, a new SDK for new skill development with these AI-infused goodness. I don't know. It just kind of makes you think. I just don't really know. Obviously, we saw some limited rollout of that when they did this a first attempt more than a year ago. But I don't know if we've really seen it since then. More of this native functionality. Anyway, I'm rambling on. So one of the things that really bit me in the pants early on is I was trying to access a skill. It's called My Talking Books, which is a NLS Bard skill. And I got this weird response. And let's see if I can get it from my Echo here. By the way, I'm going to be using the wake word COMPUTER, just like Captain Kirk. Instead of the ALEXA word. So if you do have your echo and hearing distance of my voice and it does respond to that, you may want to change its or shut off its ears. Or if you're listening on that device, sometimes it's good to shut off its ears as well because sometimes they're kind of sensitive that way. Anyway, so I'm going to start saying, and so let's give this a shot. Computer, open My Talking Books.
Sorry, My Talking Books is not supported on this device.
Okay, so that can be very disconcerting. You're like, oh my God, this is a skill that I use for everything. And you're like, oh my God, and it gives you that kind of like, just like LLMs always do, that kind of conclusive kind of, sorry dude, you can't be passed beyond this point. And I even got another response when I kept trying to triage it that said, I'm sorry, if you want to go use those skills or classic skills, you got to go run it on the app on your phone. And I actually did that, and that was the way I got into it. But it was just by happenstance later, I was goofing around, and I came to the conclusion, wait a minute. It will work, it's just not parsing my language very well. Or it's trying to process it as a natural language thing instead of like a verbatim name of a program I'm trying to open. So let me demonstrate this again. So it's just syntax. That's all it is, really, guys. So this will solve your problem, I do believe, in 99% of the cases. I have not found a skill this doesn't work with. So if you do, please tell me. But this always works. Computer, open My Talking Books skill.
Here's My Talking Books. Say computer exit to get back to Alexa Plus. Welcome back, David, to My Talking Books. What can I do for you? To read your last book, say, resume reading. Ask, most recent book, to know its title and reading position.
Resume reading. So this is my audio book through the National Library Services, through the Library of Congress.
Reading the Firm. Starting from where you left off. Beginning of the book. Please wait.
Oh, it's not
As
the beginning.
expected, Royce McKnight's office was a
that's
power one
several
with a great
chapters in.
view.
Okay.
It was in one of the prized corners on the 4th floor,
Computer.
down the hall from Nathan Locke. Lamar
Exit.
excused himself, and the managing partner asked Mitch to have a seat at a small conference
I'm
table
saying the wrong
next to the
phrase.
sofa.
Computer.
A secretary was sent.
Cancel. Okay, there we go.
Leaving My Talking Books.
There you go.
Bye for now.
Thanks. It's got the little jingle. Okay, so so the phrasing there is kind of interesting. You can tell they kind of built some sort of weird transition with the A-Lady Plus that's like going in there. It specifically says ahead of time, okay, you're going to need to say something to get back to A-Lady Plus. I kind of like that in a weird way, that it is denoting that you're in a different thing at that point. Although I have gone into other skills where it uses the default A-Lady voice and it continues to use that guy's voice, and so it could be a little disorienting. But at least it has that phrase up front that says, hey, to get back to the standard A-Lady Plus, you need to say exit or get out of it or whatever. So anyway, as you could tell from the first time I tried to do that skill, I didn't get nowhere. Second time, I used the phrase skill at the end. I said, my talking book skill, and then I got it. So I think that'll work for you. If you run into a problem and you're in the beta and you can't get to a skill that's important to you, try that out. So it's sometimes just a matter of phrasing. If anything, what I've encountered, well, I'll mention this later in the bugs section, I guess. Yeah, I'll mention this later in the bugs. So let's drop back, though, to some awesomeness, okay, guys? So another awesome thing is that I really experienced is the dialogue. You can have this, and it's kind of short. I like that. It's not very elaborate usually, even unless I ask for a pretty good explanation. Even then, it's pretty concise. I think it's a nice medium mark there. It's not like going on and on and on. But like earlier today, I was thinking there's a show that Kiefer Sutherland was in. It was on TV. And, I asked him about it, and then I had this plot, and he was a father, and he had a son who was gifted, or had some sort of, and then I asked, okay, now that you found the show, who composed the music for that show? And then he spit it back, okay, this is the person. I said, okay, that's awesome. Does that composer have stuff on Amazon Music, and or is there a soundtrack to that show? Oh, yeah, we found the soundtrack on Amazon. So that's really kind of slick, how you can kind of burrow through some information back to back and then pop out the other end. And in an agendic fashion, in this particular case, instantly play the music on Amazon. Now, you guys probably saw me do something similar early on, but I didn't really have to triage it too deeply. But this was kind of neat. It was a back and forth, dig deeper. And then, hey, can you find this song on Amazon? So that was pretty cool. I have to say it's kind of been impressing me. And also the ability for it to data mine so much about movies and TV shows because of the, I don't know if you guys know, Amazon owns IMDb, Internet Movie Database website. So that's often a huge resource. And I think that's how they data mine that stuff for their X-ray stuff on Fire TV, TV shows and stuff like that. Okay, so let's go back to bugs. All right, so we're going to go to bugs. So, what was the thing I was leading off before? Oh, the problem with the skill thing. So let's build on that a little bit. So, I think the times that I've encountered problems is that over the years, I've trained myself to do A-Lady speak. A-Lady, repeat. A-Lady, do this. A-Lady, open, alpha, omega, whatever, verbatim skill name, right? When in reality, it's much more conversational with this thing. So, you can't, if you try to say it verbatim, it's trying to think that you're giving some sort of natural language thing when you're really giving almost like a shortcut command, almost like a macro, almost like do this now. Like sometimes I would come back and say repeat, and it would think I'm trying to say repeat music because it's almost like a music command. When in reality, I'm asking it just to restate what it said before. So I got to sometimes change my language and say, oh, wait a minute. Hey, could you just say that to me again? What did you say again? And then it would come back to me. So things like that. Also, its ability to access home automation things is pretty cool, and to be able to like just give me this, give me that. And its ability to data mine some of that stuff, like find the serial number on some sensor I have in the house that has a thermometer on it, is really kind of crazy. But like last night, I was asking in the bedroom, because I'm trying to get it chilled down. It's like 85 degrees out here. Get it chilled down. What temperature is it in the bedroom? And for some reason, I haven't had it. It was like, it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm like, oh no, you're pulling from that broken sensor. And that broken sensor isn't even in the bedroom. So then I'm like, wait a minute. I am talking to you on this device. What does this device say the temperature is? Because it was an Echo Dot. And it has a thermometer in it. It's the only thermometer that was in the entire room. And, oh, yeah, this is it. It's actually 72 degrees in here, 75 degrees. And so it's almost like I have to untrain my brain sometimes to work around these things. And if I come at it in a different way, I can usually get there. Okay, that said, let's get into things that we could deeply probably classify as bugs. My Echo Show 8. Echo Show 8. By the way, guys, I'm going to demo a show and tell later, if you guys were familiar with that, where you can scan objects super, super fast now. It has some drawbacks, but super, super fast. Okay, but let's go back to just the Echo Show 8. And this is the newest generation. This is the one they used originally on stage. Before Panos Panay, it was the former director on stage with supposedly AI goodness that actually crashed and burned. And then Panos Panay had to come in and they had to retool everything with Anthropic. But nonetheless, this is the Echo Show 8. As far as I know, the newest model, which I don't remember. I want to say third generation. I could be wrong on that. And I got to tell you, the shows have always been buggy. I've had every show I can imagine. I've had 8 inches. I've had 5-inch models. I've had the 10-inch. I've had the 10-inch motion with the thing that spins at the office and the classroom. I've had this 8-inch. And they all have always been buggy. But with this A-Lady beta on the Echo Show 8, it's super buggy, guys. I mean, it's bad enough that I've plugged up a smart plug to that unit out in the living room just because I can't take it sometimes and I just need to be able to command it to shut off and turn back on again. Because it's just... I don't want to go so far to say that I've got to the point where I feel almost like it's unusable, but you're rapidly approaching the threshold point where, like, it's totally like wigging out. Like it's not responding to my commands very well, and other echoes in the house are responding, and it's just I don't know. It needs some TLC, Amazon. It needs some TLC. Let's see what else. The audio bugs. I've described this before to you guys, and it was most prevalent on the Echo Dots. I don't think I've encountered it on anything else. Just Echo Dots, 5th generation. It could be the fact that I'm using a stereo pair in the office, and that's actually what I've got piped into the studio mixer right now. But this weird problem where I'm listening to music on Amazon or I'm listening to music on Spotify, I don't think it makes any difference where it's coming from. I could be wrong. But something happens and it starts turning up the volume. And then turning up the volume. And it must be a glitch in some sort of audio maintenance thing, or the auto response, or the dynamic volume adjuster that's supposed to be only responsive to speech. Something goes sideways and it starts cranking up the volume. And if I'm here during the day in the office for any number of hours listening to music, I'm pretty much guaranteed that I'm going to have to push the volume down button on this thing, because something's going to happen and it's going to start cranking up the volume. So that's a problem. I've reported that one, but if you guys are encountering that, please report that as well as any of these other bugs that we're dealing with, because I think a multitude of voices telling Amazon, please, for the love of God, fix this, is a step in the right direction. What was the other one? Well, sounds in general, I would say, because we were talking about audio. That creeping volume problem, I don't think I've encountered on any of my other Echoes, although I don't like sit around jamming out all the time on the other Echoes. I do wake up to music every morning, and I haven't ever seen it do it there. And on the Echo Show, I don't recall it ever cranking up volume either. But once again, I'm usually not jamming out to albums in the living room very often. I'm usually listening to audiobooks or podcasts on that device. And I haven't encountered it on podcasts. That's an interesting thing. I haven't noticed it do with podcasts. It doesn't seem to track very well, but it just hasn't jumped out at me too much. The other thing I've encountered, and this is on the Echo Show 8 again, is, and I may have not noticed this earlier, but just overall audio volume lack of synchronization. So, like, I may have the audiobook up at volume 8, which is pretty daggone loud on an Echo Show 8. But I got to do that because maybe the audio track isn't quite up there, loud enough. Although it's on Audible, so I don't know how they could screw it up that bad. But then I go to ask her something or have her turn the volume down or do something, and she's talking in a really tiny voice. And that's weird. Because at 8, it should be blowing me out of the room. But typically when I start the book, it'll be at that volume. It'll be like yelling at 8, and then I do something else and it's dropped back down to 2, So I don't know what that is. Some weirdness again, maybe with the dynamic voice thingy going on, assuming I haven't enabled on the Echo Show 8, but it's weird. It's very weird. And this goes towards an overall volume consistency problem, I would say, across all the Dots and the Echo 8, is the new AI voices sound fabulous. And obviously, if you have them read any kind of like legit dynamic content, like I have a daily Bible devotional thing that I read every day, it does a wonderful job at that with the, any of the voices, to be honest. But one of the problems is the voice is clearly louder than the native content, whether that would be a podcast or music, almost any other content. It doesn't seem to map quite as well as the old A-Lady did. And maybe it's just psychological. I was used to the A-Lady voice being a little, but it feels like no matter what I do, whether it's the masculine voice or the female voice, it feels like the A-Lady's actual voice, either one of those two, is at like, say, 7, while the rest of my content is at 5. It seems like there's a significant gap. Now, at first, I was pretty sure it was just because the clarity of the voice actually is that much more clear and piercing. But the more I kind of monitor it, I feel like it's just slightly out of synchronization. It's got to be like 1 decibel. It's not. It's clearly projecting much louder than the content that I'm trying to play. So I don't know how they could fix that, but the old A-Lady seemed to do a much better job at it. It was, much more in line with the content that we were playing. Well, anyway, so that kind of wraps these things up. In future episodes, we're going to maybe delve into routines, crafting a routine verbally, which is one of those things. I've slightly dipped my toes into it, but I haven't really gone the full way, so we will likely be doing that in a future episode. If I can get the email to work as well, which unfortunately looks like it's kind of like the text messaging thing. It's only a send only instead of read only. Kind of disappointed in that. Maybe I've missed something, but we'll look at that in a future episode as well. If you have thoughts or suggestions for a future episode, you can reach out to us at Echo Tips Podcast at CERT, C-E-R-T, Dr. DOCTOR.com. And you can also find our blog, where I have a listing of all the past catalog of shows. Well, most of them. I need to update it. But anyway, you can go check that out at the same domain name, CERTDoctor.com, and then click on blog. But anyway, appreciate you guys being with us this week. And until next time, we thank you for listening.